Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network. And today we have a very special Voices of Neurodiversity. So I met Ryan through a friend, and we started talking about his stuff. I was just going to give him some tech recommendations. And now he's very firmly embedded in the network. Next year, we're going to be talking about health and wellness lots. So, to get you started for that, I wanted Ryan to tell us about himself and get you guys on an understanding of what he offers and where we're going with this and how you can actually embrace health and wellness without shame. And that's really the biggest part of all of this for us, and why I'm so excited for y'all to meet him. So, without further ado, Ryan, welcome.
Hello. How's it going? And like Briar said, everything's really great. We connected on a bunch of different levels and it's been great. And I'm just here to teach people about health and wellness and let you know that it's part of what your choice is because we want to live happy, longer, healthier lives, right? Like aesthetics and all those other things are nice and all, but like really we just want to continue to do the things we love. And that's why we should exercise. And that's why we should, you know, tend to eat healthier, right? A lot of traditional diets nowadays are not the best. And we know this, right? Like it's not rocket science. When I talk to somebody, I'm like, what's three things you want to change about their diet? They tell me right away. I'm like, cool, start there, right? Like it's not surprising. So it's about how do we get there and how do we build some habits and how do we make it sustainable in a way that feels realistic? This is the time of year when everyone's like, I'm gonna change everything after this next holiday party and I eat everything. I'm gonna start to change, right? And the motivation is great and everyone has like a really good idea and knows what they want to do. But the problem that most people do is they try to do 20 new things at once. And then 3 or 4 weeks into it, they're like, this is crazy difficult. I don't like changing my life this much. And they tend to stop. And then they're like, "God, next year, right? Or maybe some of those habits stick and they do get some new things and that's great. But like, I'm here to help you bridge that gap, right? And I always try to talk about the fact that we need these habits for the rest of our life, right? So let's do one new habit, get successful at that, prove ourselves confidence, make it, celebrate that win, add that next habit, right? Do that for another week. Do like one habit a week. Before you know it, by the end of 6 to 8 weeks, you've got some nice, solid, healthy habits, and you're doing a lot better than you were before. The term downward spiral is pretty common, but I like upward spiral. Let's do one new thing. Let's make it feel better. Let's do that feel better, right? I know now that when I go to the gym, if I don't eat that great the day before, it's not going to be a fun day at the gym, right? So now I think about that, right? When there's like cookies and candy, and I'm like, I gotta go to the gym tomorrow, right? Like, so I'm like less likely to make that decision, right? Doesn't mean I never don't do it. Like, no, especially now this time of year, right? But I think about it now, right? And that's the biggest change. I always like to preface a lot of this with the fact that I wasn't always some fit guy, right? Like, and I'm at the point where people are like, look at me and they're like, all right, whatever, dude, you don't know how hard it is, right? So I like to bring this up. I'm gonna grab it real quick. I keep this picture in my gym so I never forget, and nobody in my gym knows, right? This was me 7 years ago, right? This was the picture that changed my life, right? My buddy posted this picture. I did a catering event for them. Uh, he just posted on Facebook, and like there I was scrolling through Facebook like the next week, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for catering our event," and like tagged me in it, and I was like, "Cool," you know what I mean? Like, cool, and it was the catalyst, right? It was that picture was like, I guess something's got to change, right? Like, sure, it's a bad angle, sure, it's a side view, but like for me, it was like, all right, man, something's really got to change. And so when I always talk to people about like trying to, doing the changing of habits and knowing that they want to change, the first thing we talk about is what's your why? Why do you want to change, right? Like motivation is great and it'll last for a couple of weeks, but it's not going to carry you through those days that are hard. So why do you want to change? And now, luckily for me at the time, my wife was pregnant. I looked at that picture. My wife was pregnant. I knew I wanted to be an active dad, right? Like The father figure in my life wasn't present, so I didn't want that to happen. So I wanted to be an active dad. So there's a lot of mornings and a lot of days and a lot of times when I was like, didn't feel like going to the gym or didn't feel like, being on track. And I just thought about, no, I want to be an active dad. Right. And so that was a really solid concrete why. Another long term why that I like to talk about, and this one actually got through to my mom. It was great. She told me that. I never want to be helped off a toilet in my old age. Right, like that's a fitness goal of mine. Right, like that's a real fitness goal. I watched my great grandma spend 20 years in nursing homes, being helped in and out of beds and doing all that. And I was like, never doing that. Right, and like I said that recently in
I'm
something
gonna
I was
have
on.
nightmares now.
Uh-huh.
Thank you,
Uh-huh.
Ryan.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Like, so that's what I think about when I don't want to go to the gym. I'm like, you don't want to be helped off the toilet, do you? Like, you know? And my mom came to me, she's in her late 60s, and she was like, all right, what you said about the toilet thing, you're right. What can I do? So I gave her a little workout program. I gave her a little step up and like 2 pound weights. And I was like, here's what you do. Hold that weight, stand up from the chair. Hold that weight, stand up from the, like that's it, man. Keep it simple, right? And like always remember the timeline is the best advice I can give you, right? Like you didn't build these habits that either led to the weight gain or the fitness level that you're at overnight, right? So why would they change overnight? If it took me 7 years to gain 100 pounds, why would it take me 3 months to lose 100 pounds? The reality is that picture was 7 years ago, right? Did I immediately start going to the gym after that picture? Yeah. Yeah, I started going to the gym that week. I was like, cool. Did I immediately have all my meal prep and nutrition dialed in? No, that took like another 3 years before I was like, all right, maybe I should like get more serious about it, right? And that was the hardest part for me, man. I was a chef when that picture was taken. I was a chef. I had a catering company. I was a private chef for some pretty high end stuff, and I like rich food, man.
Right.
Like I still like rich food, right? Do I eat it all the time now? No, because I eat too much of it, man. I'm definitely eating it for Christmas. On Christmas Eve, I'm making a steak and a pie, and that's all I'm eating, right? And I know that.
I think we get to make our own rules. We get to decide what moderation looks like to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And what works for somebody else may not work for you. And that's a problem I see with a lot of these like bad diets. They're like, oh, my friend lost 20 pounds. And I'm like, well, cool. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't, right? And the hardest part, a lot of these, quote unquote diets is that they're just too restrictive, right? Like, I have lots of friends. Let's use keto, for example. Keto is great and it works and it's effective and people lose weight on it. But what happens when you go to a family barbecue or a function and there's carbs there, right? Like, are you just never going to eat carbs the rest of your life? Like, I don't know, man. That sounds pretty miserable, man. At some point, you probably want to eat some carbs, right? Like, so how do you make it sustainable? And that's what I like to talk about, like from like a holistic point of view. Like, build healthy habits that you can do for the rest of your life. And that's always how I do it, right? So, as someone who's a neurodivergent, there's lots of tips and tricks, right? Like, routine is my friend, right? Changing that routine, not my friend. So,
Mhm.
how do I do that? The number one thing I talk about is habit stacking and habit hacking, right? To use buzzwords, right? But like for me, it's habit hacking and habit stacking, right? So take a habit you already do, right? Hopefully you brush your teeth. That's a pretty baseline for most people, right? If you know you need to stretch a couple times a day, stretch when you go to brush your teeth, right? Like that's the idea of habit stacking, right? Take something you're already doing and just add a simple layer to it, right? Like don't reinvent the wheel. I'll use this week for example too. My wife's out of town and the dog needed some antibiotics, and expecting me to remember that, even with a phone reminder and a couple of reminders around the house, 50-50 on me actually doing it, right? Because it's new, right? And it's temporary. So what did she do? She knows where I stand every morning and get ready. So she taped up a date thing with the cross off date that she had done and the time and the reminder and an arrow to where the pills are. And I was like, oh yeah. Like, because that way it's hard for me to ignore it, right? And I'll tell you, I have a reminder on my phone for every day. I just ignore that, which is that's not part of the routine. That's not part of the routine. But by putting it right in front of my face where I stand every morning and make my breakfast, add it to my routine, right? I haven't missed a day. Success, right? That's what we do when we're, struggle with new challenges and new routines and have to change things, and we just make it manageable, right? So that's what I was like to talk about. And then I like
And
going on.
small steps are
Mhm,
so much easier than big ones.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, exactly. Like spend 7 days building a new habit and make it one simple, manageable habit. My favorite one to talk about is if we want to work on around our eating habits, right? Mindfulness. The number one thing I can tell people to change with their diet is just become mindful. When you're eating in front of a screen or you're watching something or you're not paying attention, it's really easy to eat more, overeat, eat really fast, feel hungry, right? If you just were to put that phone down, pay attention, like chew a little bit slower, listen to your body, you'd be surprised how much fuller you get. Or on the flip side of it, if you have like a really intense craving for something and you know that like, for example, one of my friends say, they said like quesadillas. They're like, I know I shouldn't be snacking on quesadillas all the time. And I was like, no, you should enjoy that quesadilla. Like put your phone down, enjoy it, enjoy every bite, savor it, and then move on with your life. Because now we've had that craving, right? When I'm having pretty intense cravings, I just, every once in a while indulge in them so I can get them out of my system. Trying to fight that and repress that is just going to cause resentment and anger and like, guilt and shame. And then when you do eat it, you're like, I shouldn't have ate that. Like, you can eat it. It's okay. You'll survive. Nothing will change. Right. And this is where we talk about like manageable stuff. Like the 80-20 rule is my favorite friend. If 80% of the time you're on track, indulge that 20% of the time. Make it manageable. I usually tell clients like whatever evening that they like to spend with friends or family, usually like Saturday evening, go have takeout, go eat out, go eat that meal that you like. Enjoy it. Don't think of it as a cheat meal because we're not cheating on our diet. We're just enjoying a meal. And then we're going to go back on to, whatever plan that aligns with our goals, right? Don't give, assign morals to the food. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just making, energy for your body, right? The number
Yeah.
one thing I like to tell people is the definition of a healthy diet is enough energy to complete your tasks throughout the day. That's the definition of a healthy diet, right? Does it align with your goals? That's another story. But healthy diet is, can you complete your tasks throughout the day? Because that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to function and get our tasks done, and
I don't think most people eat enough when it comes to actual task management. They're not they're not eating what they need to be eating in order to get through a day functionally.
mhm. I find that a lot, especially with a lot of people like us who hyper focus, who get really into something for 8 hours. They haven't eaten, they skip breakfast, they drink some coffee. Next thing I know, they look up and they're like, I need to eat everything in sight. And then they overeat, right? Because at that point, you've been hungry for so long, your body's like, I don't care. Whatever plan you had is gone. I just want something quick, easy to process, probably has sugars, probably has fats in it because I'm stressed out, right? And that's a stress response.
Hmm.
And so if you were to just like maybe have some protein throughout your day, even if it's like something super simple, like a protein shake or some yogurt, like, or just something that's like easy to down that doesn't take a lot of thought process. That's a good step in the right direction. And you probably will eat less later in the day because you won't be as, hungry. I have this chocolate protein powder that I put in the coffee because I'm going to drink coffee. Like that's happening, right? So now I just put some protein powder in the coffee and I'm like way more satiated because it just has protein in it, right? And it tastes good. I don't even have to add cream or anything. I just add the chocolate protein powder, call it a day, right?
I
Is it
use
like,
collagen in hot
yeah,
tea.
yep, same thing. Yeah, it's getting something in there, right? So the body's at least being satiated. My wife pulls that all the time. Like I'll catch her, just hyper focused, working on a proposal or whatever she's doing, and I'll just set food next to her, and she'll like be like shocked, like what's happening? Oh yeah, it's food, like, and like
It's true though, and
yeah,
we're terrible about it
yeah,
when we get hyper focused.
yeah. And then like and I have someone who does this like regularly and who like is really good about like most of the time being on that. I did it today. I was working on an online program. I looked up when my clients walked in and I was like, I missed 2 meals. I was just like, oh man, I've been way too hyper focused today. Right. Which in turn makes me like really hungry. So
So rather than beating yourself up about it, what do you do when you've missed those 2 meals?
I just move on. I just accept that, okay, cool. I just move on and go on with it. Right. I don't try to over swing the arch and try to catch up and be like overindulge. I just usually try to focus on something sustainable like protein and fiber so I don't overindulge, right? And like that's my first meal. If I haven't eaten for a long time, try to get some fibers and some protein, right? That's usually meats and veggies for most people. Do you have to eat meat? No, nobody has to eat anything. If you don't eat meat, beans are a good source of fiber and protein, right? We really just want some more fibers in our life generally because the average person in the world, especially America, is super low on their fiber. And so if you're not eating fiber, you just never really feel full. And that's a big problem with a lot of people's diets. They tend to eat the average diet right now in America, and this is a rough statistic to take down, is like 60% processed food, 30% animal fats or animal proteins, and if they're lucky, 10% fruits and vegetables, right? When really it needs to be totally flipped, right? Half of every plate of every meal should be fruits and vegetables from a micronutrient point of view, from a nutrition point of view, from a weight loss point of view, from a cancer prevention point of view, from a longevity point of view, right? You should just eat more fruits and vegetables. Now, if you choose to eat meat on top of that, that's great too. That's a protein source. You should get some sort of protein in there as well, right? Um, that's pretty much the basic for nutrition, right? Fruits and vegetables, some lean proteins, maybe a little starch that you enjoy. Pretty simple. Every meal, pretty simple, right? Don't need to reinvent the wheel. We've known that since like the 40s and 50s about food. All these other quote unquote fads between now and then that say there's a certain way to eat, statistically, they all work about the same if you look at a 12-month timeline. The diet
Oh,
that
that's
works,
interesting.
yeah, the diet that works is the one you stick to, regardless of the mechanism. Think of diets as a mechanism. If you like to eat keto, cool. If you like carnivore, cool, do that, right? If you can stick to it, do it, right? Like I prefer, 6 small meals a day because that's my eating style, right? If I tell a client to do that and they normally skip breakfast and eat one large meal at the end of the day, tell them to eat 6 small meals a day is never going to happen. Like that's just not going to happen, right? So we find something that's manageable. So usually with a client like that tends to skip meals early, I just talk to them about getting some protein and some fiber in the beginning of the day, and then maybe graze throughout the day, and then make sure that their end of meal day is lower in fats and higher in protein so they feel a little more satiated and less cravings, right? Does that mean avoid fats at all? No, fats are important too. They regulate your hormones, especially stuff like melatonin, your sleep hormone, right? Like if you're not so like, let's bring it back a little bit. I like to talk about this health pyramid, right? Right, and this is how I describe overall health for everybody. Now, what happens when I get a client, they ask me, what supplement should I take? What diet is best? What meal timing is this? Do you think I should do X, Y, and Z? I read this on TikTok. And a lot of that has merit, but it's really this top 10 or 15% of the pyramid, right? Like, you know what I mean? If everything else is dialed in, cool, we can start adjusting those little variables and make and see how it works. The baseline is, are you sleeping consistently?
Yes.
Like that's the baseline, right? 6 to 8 hours of sleep minimum, hopefully 7 to 9, right? But if you're not sleeping consistently, you severely inhibit your ability's body to lose fat. You're stressed out, your cravings go up, your cortisol levels go up, you lose muscle mass in the process, right? Not to mention cognitive functions and being cranky, right? Like, you know what I mean? And when I say consistently, I mean 7 days a week, not just 5 days a week and then the weekends, whatever happens, right? Like, it's weird how hard Monday is if you don't sleep consistently on the weekend, right? Like now you're throwing off half your day of the week. You got 4 consistent days and then 3 inconsistent days. How consistent is that? It's not, right? You know?
It also doesn't work the other way if you sleep 4 hours Monday through Friday and then try and gain it all back on the weekend.
No, it does not. It does not. You can't regain sleep. Unfortunately, I tried. Years as a chef, 19-hour shifts forever. Clopins.
Right.
I don't know if you ever heard of a clopin. It's when you close and then open the restaurant.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't even feel like I left. I would just be like,
Yep.
I was just here, you know?
Hmm.
Many years of that, right? Was that healthy? No, that's a lot of what led to me being overweight, right? It was just the poor sleeping and eating habits, right? And I talk to people now, I eat more now than I did when I was 100 pounds heavier. I just ate poorly, I ate poor timing, and I didn't take care of my sleep, and I was stressed out all the time, right? Many, many evenings, handfuls of cheesecake over a trash can, right? Because I hadn't eaten for 6 to 8 hours working on a line, and all that's left after we served dinner was dessert. And I was like, oh, I guess this is what we're eating now, right? And So, are you sleeping consistently? That's the baseline. The next one we talk about, are you eating consistently? And again, the same rule matters. It doesn't changing your diet. It's just, are we consistent 7 days a week? Right? Like if it's the same thing where we undereat all week, have a good routine during the week, and on the weekends we're like, my friends invited me over for something, so I eat everything in sight because I've been starving all week. Right? That's really common, especially for us neurodivergent folk. We just like hyper focus all week, and on the weekend we're like, I have no routine. I'm just gonna eat like a kid in a candy store, literally.
It's a real problem for us because if there is a change in the routine, we don't know what to do. So we often, I know I have so many clients who will do great Monday through Friday, and then the weekend comes and they're in bed all weekend because they got nothing, but they don't eat well, they don't sleep well.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
problem.
Or the alternative is you're at a social situation, especially this time of year, a holiday situation, and you're like, I don't really want to talk to anybody. So if I'm eating, I don't have to talk to anybody.
Mhm.
I see that a lot. I catch myself doing that. Uh, so, and then the third part of this big pyramid is, are we moving consistently? And this doesn't even mean going to the gym or exercising. Are we getting basic steps in every day? Have we gotten up away from our desk at all today? Right? Like, have you gone out and walked the dog? Right? Like, have you done anything sort of movement? Yeah. Right? And like, all the new buzzwords are sitting is the new smoking. That's the one I keep seeing popping up, right? And like the reality of that is like our bodies are amazing at conserving energy and they're amazing at adapting to the situations you put them in. So if you don't move all day, the body just assumes we don't need to burn a lot of calories, right? So it starts shutting our metabolism down. It starts holding on to fat because our brains are mostly fat. So the thing our body prioritizes is fat. It's like, oh, we need fat to survive. So let's just hold on to this fat, not burn any calories, and then we'll just sit here. And then, places like DoorDash and Amazon are like, hey, we have this really great processed food that we deliver right to your door, full of carbs and fats and salt, and your hormone levels and like all your adrenal glands that have been stressed all week are like, yeah, replenish us. Do that. And you combine that with sitting all day and eating food delivered to your house, it's not a great combo. Like it's just not, right? Um, not even talking about aesthetics, we're talking about like heart health, organ health, ability to live a long, functional life, right? Like again, aesthetics are
Not
nice,
be
but
escorted to the toilet when I am
yeah,
old.
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah, yeah. That one lives in my brain all the time, man. Right? And then you have all that dialed in. Then we can start to change the diet. Then we can start to change the workout routine. But if you have a baseline, I don't know what to tell you. People are like, I want to change everything today. What's the meal plan? I want a workout plan. I'm like, mm-mm. Can you drink 100 ounces of water? They're like, I have no idea. I'm like, cool. That's your new task for 2 weeks. Drink 100 ounces of water. It's a real good baseline, right? Uh, I love that too. Is like clients will be like, I have to get up and leave my desk all the time to go to the bathroom. I'm like, good. That's a good thing. You have to
You're
move more.
you're supposed to get up periodically. Yes.
Yeah. And that's where I bring in habit stacking. I'm like, cool, every time you get it from your desk, you're going to walk for 5 minutes, even if it's just around in circles in your living room, right? That's the really easy one to do, right? And eventually you'll start feeling better, right? It's crazy how quickly people start feeling better when they drink water, when they get 8 to 10,000 steps in a day, and they sleep 7 to 8 hours, right? Like I have tons of clients start losing weight and feeling amazingly better, and they're like, I didn't change anything. And I'm like, no, you changed the basics, right? Like I didn't have to change how I dieted. I just started doing that, and I feel better. My skin looks better. I feel better, right? That was one of the reviews this week. She like didn't have to go on a yo-yo diet that she's used to doing. And I was like, did the yo-yo diet work? And they're like, well, I lost 20 pounds. I'm like, but did you gain it back? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, then I don't really call that working, right? Like, you know, and so that's what I talk about. And like, again, if you want a habit hack, one of my favorite ones, I was talking to Briar about this, is convince yourself of something, right? So if you read Atomic Habits, the brain is really great at shutting itself off when it knows how to do something and then rewarding itself with some dopamine at the end. Like if you're driven somewhere, you just like, it's something like work or something, you just drive there and you look up and you're like, oh, I'm here already. Cool. Right? The brain's good at shutting off and conserving energy. So how do you do that to yourself? So I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person, right? I spent years closing restaurants, staying up late. I'm not a morning person. My life is dictated now that I go to the gym at 5 a.m. because that's the last time left in the day. I've got a kid, I've got a business, I've got a bunch of other things going on. Like that's the only time left in the day. I don't like it. I don't like any part of it. As soon as I go on vacation, I immediately start sleeping in and staying up late, right? As soon as I'm off my schedule, right? It's immediately, day one. I love coffee, right? So here's how we hack this. I love coffee. I'm never gonna give up coffee. It's my last vice, right? Like I love the smell of it. I love the taste of it. I'm 100% gonna be that 90-year-old person drinking decaf, just like I like the taste. You know, I know this. So when my alarm goes off at like 4 something in the morning and it's dark out and it's cold out, my first thing I think is like I want coffee. So what have I done to like hack this routine into myself going to the gym? I don't give myself coffee till I get home from the gym. The timer's set to go off the second I walk in the door, or about 1 minute before I walk in the door from the gym. So my house smells like coffee. I know that I'm going to reward myself with coffee at the end of the gym. I know that I now convince myself that I have to go to the gym for 90 minutes because that's when the timer goes off. And that's when I get rewarded with coffee. So my brain knows this. And so it wakes up and it goes, coffee. And it goes, oh, you got to go to the gym first. And so I go to the gym. And like, I'm not awake for the first 15 minutes. I'm like on the Stairmaster, like my hood's on. I'm just like, And it takes a little bit before I'm like in the gym. And like, I like working out. So once it kicks on, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm here. And I know that I can't leave early because the coffee won't be done yet. I can't short the gym session because it won't be done yet, right? But like if my kitchen window's open, I pull up and I can like smell it in my driveway. I'm like, yes, coffee. Yes, coffee. So I've now rewarded my brain. So now my brain just, my little lizard brain wakes up and goes, coffee. And I go, no, gym first. It goes, oh, okay. And then so it shuts down as much as possible, waits till I get home and then rewards myself with dopamine because I've now hacked this habit, right? It's brutal.
And very effective.
Yeah.
And that's the point. So starting December 26th, you are building programs for people based on these sorts of things, correct?
100%. Our newest program is called Lift and Live. It's 4 weeks of habit building. And we go over the simple ones. The first 7 days is sleeping. The next 7 days is hydration. The next 7 days is mindfulness. And the next 7 days is clean eating. What that looks like, right? There's a little download guide for each of them that you print out in little journals. And if you want to put gold stars, there's gold stars in it, right? It also comes with 6 weeks of at-home workouts that you just need a couple dumbbells for, run by our fitness specialist, Ro, and she's great and she's easy to listen to, and she goes at your pace. And the great thing is that they're done for you videos. So if you want to do 10 minutes of it and press pause, great. If you want to do 5 minutes and press pause, great. If you don't really like that video, but you like the other video, great, right? Like do it at your pace, right? And it's done. And again, this comes with a whole workout schedule with literal spots to put gold stars because I like tactile finishing.
I need gold stars. I need gold stars.
Yeah. So you print it out, put it up on your chart, put your gold star when you do your workout. And it's got a 6-week plan, a couple days a week of workouts, like 4 days a week at first, and then increases to 5. Has a guideline that for each one you can do. And again, it's all doable at home. And then it also includes some recipe books that I wrote, for my chef background. And the best thing about these recipe books is they have meal plans in them with attached shopping lists. So you can literally just print the shopping list, go to the store, buy the ingredients, come home, make that entire week's meal done for you, including snacks. It's 3 meals a day, including snacks, right? And a lot of them are set up to where you make one meal for 2 days and it says use leftovers from yesterday, right? Has a reward on Saturday night to go eat out, right? And it has multiple eating styles, right? I'm including a vegan one so you can get more of your fruits and veggies in. And I'm also including a peak protein one, because that way you can get some extra protein in. And then we have a starting point one, which is kind of in between. It's based on fat loss and it's lower fat for most of them. I'm also including a couple bonuses of like some veggie sides and then a guide about understanding protein and how that works. So you combine all of that, and then you get weekly accountability calls where we do live every Wednesday. So it's Pacific time, so 5:15 Pacific time every Wednesday. So you can check in, and generally on those calls, we all have like we talk about our successes for about 15 minutes. I go over about 15, 20-minute presentation on various topics usually people ask me. about like how to deal with the weekends or how to deal with going to friends' houses or like what to do if this comes up, sort of thing. And then we have a little Q&A, and that's it. And we check in every week, right? So accountability, guidelines, plans, habit building, simple, broken down, easy and done for you, right? And I'm going to give access to everybody in the neurodivergent a 25% off code. So Brian will post that, and we launch on Tuesday, so we can get a jump start on our New Year's resolutions and keep it simple, right? One new thing a week. If you succeed at one new thing a week, celebrate. Be like, I did it. You like cupcakes? At the end of that week, if you did all your habits, reward yourself with a cupcake. Like, go ahead and do that. That's how we convince our brains to do things, right? And that's also how like I convince myself that like it's worth to do all these things.
One of my goals for next year is to actually prioritize the meat sack, y'all. I've been putting it off, so I would love it if you joined me. I will be posting the link to go. The coupon code will be sharing that with you on Tuesday. Until then, Ryan, how can they find you?
So you can go to spitefitness.com. You can go to spite.fitness on Facebook or spite.fitness on Instagram. I like my name. Some people have opinions about it, but like I live my life.
Listen, we do all things through spite around here.
Yes. Yes. Majority of my life, people told me like you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. And I was like, cool, watch me, right? And so it's spite fitness, right? And the nice tagline is do it in spite of yourself. The real one is do it in spite of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you for being here. We will have links for you on Tuesday. I hope that you join us. I hope you join me. I think it's going to be worth your time. And then next year, we will be back with Ryan to start really digging into some of the data about these habits and their importance. All right?
Yeah.
See y'all later.